Made aware by our Sister's Keeper that the city is going to be offering some support for the residents that have been impacted. Can you elaborate on what type of support is being offered?
Certainly. So we had an opportunity to have a meeting with the residents and really to understand what they've experienced during the protest and what their needs are. Some of the things we heard were they were really concerned about security, the physical security of their buildings. And so we are contracting with a security company to actually have people out here providing security to make sure people aren't going into their buildings. And then we're also working with the company that owns the apartments to make sure that the locks on the doors are reinforced or replaced if needed. We also heard that there was food insecurity. A lot of people couldn't go to work because of the unrest and the protest, or they were had to be relocated, and we assisted them with being temporarily relocated to hotels. And so when they came back, a lot of them, lost their jobs, and so we're partnering with other organizations to make sure that their food needs are met. Also other basic necessities, diapers for the kids, for instance. We're also working with them to provide some relocation services if they, no longer feel safe here and want to move, and rightfully so. A lot of the concerns they raised were about law enforcement running into the buildings or protesters going into the buildings, and even law enforcement. Very powerfully, one gentleman talked about having to guard the building himself, and how law enforcement, when they were told, "Why aren't you protecting us?" The response was, "Well, we're interested in protecting the precinct, the police department building, and not your building." And so there's a lot of trauma. There are a lot of kids who, whenever they hear sounds outside, run underneath the bed, or just simply don't want to leave the apartment to come outside. So they're traumatized. So we're providing culturally appropriate mental health services for the residents as well, working with mental health providers who can relate culturally to the folks who live in the apartments, both for kids and for adults. So those are some of the services that we're providing. Our acknowledgement is that people here have been traumatized, and our commitment is to work to make sure that they're made whole.
Some of the concerns I heard were also surrounding the health impacts from the tear gas. Is there anything that you guys are doing to address the residual impacts of tear gas being used over and over and over again and then being exposed to it?
The use of tear gas has been just absolutely heartbreaking for me. Our city council outlawed it the very second day after Daunte was shot. The next day, we outlawed the use of tear gas or rubber bullets. I heard some horrible stories about a young man who, he came to me and told me that he had to take his kids' mattresses and brace them against the glass to absorb the impact of the rubber bullets. People have said that there's still residue from the tear gas in the carpet, in the hallways and in their apartments, and the kids are still walking around with phlegm and mucus, and they're still being impacted by what's left. And so we're contracting with a company to go in and deep clean the carpets and to try and remove what's left of the tear gas. But there are a lot of families that have respiratory conditions like asthma and other respiratory illnesses that the tear gas just absolutely exacerbates and really puts them at a health risk. And so I believe that cleaning actually is supposed to be done today. And so we're doing everything we can to really try and take care of the folks who live here.
Anything else you want to say?
Including relocation services. So if they want to relocate because of the trauma that's been caused, we're going to work with them to make sure they're relocated safely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.